Why are not more of us asking why we feel fear and worry and anxiety on a day-to-day basis? Too often, that is left unquestioned. By learning to play in the dark, we have the choice and the opportunity to reweave joy into the experience of darkness, and therefore transforming the systems of oppression from the inside out. So it is by instilling the energy of joy first within our own selves that we then impact the entire collective. And when we all learn how to weave with light, what a different world this will be. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. It is really nice to feel all of your energies. I was tapping in just before I came on, and I was asking what the message was for today. And it did make me smile. They want to tell us how to play in the dark and the importance of playing in the dark. This year is a time of turbulence for sure. And as we learned last time, it's a time of transition, and transitions tend to be rocky. So this is an opportunity for us to learn how to move with the rockiness, and as we heard last time, how to turn it into a game. The visual that came through when they were telling me what this was going to be about was of children playing in the dark, and how finding that joy and that silliness, even in the darkness, actually starts to create its own source of light. So when we can laugh in the darkness and smile at things that maybe make us afraid, laughing at the shadows, it makes them dissipate, and our light becomes even brighter. And we realize that, of course, there really is nothing to be afraid of after all. So this feels like a really lighthearted message, but also very important for us at this time. So I'm going to take just a moment to tap in and see what they have to say. If you feel called to close your eyes, sometimes it can be nice to receive channeled messages that way, but it is whatever you are comfortable with. What is the importance of learning how to play in the dark? So the first being that is coming through is sharing that it is actually about how we find our own rhythm. So this being is primarily, this being is talking about rhythm both in walking, but also in any type of movement. They started with the analogy of swimming. So there is something about finding a rhythm that allows us to be more buoyant, more lighthearted when we are able to learn how to play in the dark and the shadows is what she is specifically referring to. So she is showing this kind of playful dance back and forth between hopping in and out of the shadows, in between light, and learning how to really see that no matter how dark the shadow is, when you jump back into it, it is exactly the same as if you're in the light. Someone has just turned the lights off. And there is a paradoxical truth in that really allows us to sit more in stillness when we are in the dark, to not be rocked so much by the darkness, because when we are in the dark, we also tend to not have as good a balance. So it can feel, even in the physical world, like we have lost our balance, because when we cannot see as well, we're not able to find our footing underneath us sometimes. So when we are able to have balance in the darkness, we are able to have balance in almost any scenario. And she is saying more about that for this time. She is saying that, and is that for our group, or is that for a majority of people? Okay, so she is telling me that for many people in our group, but also this is applicable actually to the vast majority of many people in, I'll say, the spiritual space. And she's correcting me. She wants me to say more those who live in the light is really, it's a broader category. So those who live in the light, she is saying that this year there are going to be times that feel like we have the rug pulled out from under us. She did show that very specifically. And she is making the point that when we learn to play in the dark, when we learn to find our balance, it doesn't actually matter if the rug gets pulled out from under us. We will learn to just jump down. We will learn, some of us, she is saying, will just learn to fly that way. Someone will try to knock you off, and all of a sudden you are going to be able to find this resilience in you and actually find a gift that you didn't know you had, like flying, something as miraculous as flying. So that is a really beautiful thing. And she is really making the point that it is all about how we learn to play in the dark, and finding our balance. Okay, that feels clear. So there is another being who is adding on to that, and she is saying that even when we do stumble, because there will be times when something does try to throw us off balance this year, or makes us feel like the rug was pulled out from under us. And she says that even on those times when we do fall, when we do stumble, trip, or hit ourselves on the ground, she is saying that there is a tremendous strength that comes when we witness ourselves picking ourselves back up, even in the darkness. That can be one of the scariest things to do. And she is also saying it can be an act of tremendous courage to stumble in the dark and choose to get back up again instead of just staying down. Okay, there is another being who would like to come through. Okay, so this is a very, there is a lot in this message. This is a being coming from Vega, and she was alive when the planet was destroyed, and she was on planet when this planet was destroyed. She is now a guide for many beings, and she is a guide for me specifically. She is talking about the recreation of culture after her culture was lost. Almost lost, she corrects me. She is saying that when things are destroyed, there is a tremendous opportunity to imbue and weave back in the energy of joy. That is the opportunity that we have available to us this year. So the experience of falling down, the experience of being in the darkness, by learning to play in the dark, we have the choice and the opportunity to reweave joy into the experience of darkness. That, on an energetic level, that allows us to experience darkness in a much lighter way the next time we come upon it. It makes it so that it's not as scary as it once was. I'm going to give my cat a moment to settle. Sometimes she likes to join me. Yes, so she is going on to say that this opportunity that we have, those are my words, and perhaps she wants to use different words. Yes. She is saying experience is perhaps a more resonant word for many of you. So this experience that we are going to have this year of experiencing darkness and reweaving joy into it, this is how we change the structures, the systems that we live in. That is that an appropriate word? Yes, that are oppressive. This is how we recreate them from the inside out. It is the insides that need the changing. And isn't that often how it is with health in general? It is the inside part that we cannot see very clearly that can be the most alarming when we do find out that there is something wrong inside. And it is also the easiest thing to hide, is whatever is happening on the inside of the body, we do not see necessarily with our own eyes. So by reweaving this energy, this thread of joy, of play into the darkness, it is actually bringing light into the darkness in that way, and therefore transforming the systems of oppression energetically from the inside out, which is actually what we need. We need, let's see, how did she phrase that? Yes. So she is giving me this energetic analogy. Let me put this into words. There is an importance in having beings on the outside of a building, let's say. This building represents a system that we live in. There is importance in having people on the outside who are, let's say, holding signs or protesting, maybe even as aggressive as throwing rocks at the building to try and dismantle it. There is an importance in that. But that is not truly how change comes about. Change comes about from the inside out. And the first way that anything is manifest in this world is through energy first. So it is by instilling the energy of joy first in the darkness, within our own selves, within our own lives, that we then impact the entire collective. By doing that, we are giving the gift of teaching someone else who you may never see, you may never meet in this lifetime, but energetically you are teaching them how to do the same. And when we all learn how to weave with light, what a different world this will be. Is there more? Thank you for that message. Okay, there is another guide coming through, one of my guides. He is talking about the importance of creating a time and a space. And structure is also an appropriate word here. Bringing and or creating time, space, and structure into your day to incorporate this energy of joy and play. So he is expressing that there are countless opportunities, there are countless ways that we are distracted. We are invited to always look over here, look over there, watch the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. And he is saying that how would you phrase that? He is showing me that is, in essence, we are giving our energy and flushing it down the drain is what we are doing. all of our precious energy, the attention, and our time, which is irreplaceable, we are throwing down a drain when we are not more discerning with what we are taking in and where we are giving our time and attention to. So his message is about, rather than constantly or mindlessly throwing our energy and our attention down a drain, instead to create times in our day that are specifically set aside just for joy and play. He is saying that joy and play are, if not more, as important as physical exercise. He says joy and play are the exercise of the heart, and they get to be the exercise and the freedom to express your imagination. So joy and play will look different for each one of us. He is saying that joy and play may look like reading a book, which is a form of calm joy. And he says that is exactly perfect for some. He says that others may want more energetic joy, where there is movement, maybe dancing or skipping down a trail. Others may find joy or feel the feeling of play, because he says they are very similar. Not exactly the same, he says, but very similar. Some of us may feel that through the act of creating art of some kind. So there are many ways that we can feel this and experience this, create this for ourselves. And he really wants it to be clear that without the establishment of that in our daily lives or even weekly lives, it will not simply happen. That is the nature of, how do you want to phrase that? The collective, he says. The collective is not necessarily oriented to joy and play. That is not a common energy to find in the vast majority of specifically adults in the world. So it may be very easy for you to experience joy and play if you are around children. And that is a gift, he says, to be surrounded by that energy, because it will be much easier for you to feel into that and to allow your energy field to be open and pierced by that, really, if you are around children. So if you are, consider yourself to be one of the lucky ones, he says, which is quite beautiful to me. And if you are not around children, if that is not something that you experience frequently, then creating these times where you are simply going out to experience joy is going to be, how do you want to phrase that? Yes, it is. He's saying it is hard to find a word stronger than vital. It will be vital for our whole health and our well-being. Yes, and I did want him to elaborate more on the energy of the collective, because there was more to that I didn't get to. Right. He is expressing that joy and play are not common. What is common is fear and worry and anxiety, actually, these days, he says. And he says, yes, they are in actuality an illusion in many ways. They are the stories that are told to create those feelings are not necessarily true. They do not necessarily express the whole truth. And yet, the consequences of those stories are real. We as humans do experience fear, anxiety, and worry, and many of us on a day-to-day basis. That is a normal part of how we experience life. And he says too often that is left unquestioned. Why are not more of us asking, why we feel fear and worry and anxiety on a day-to-day basis. And why, he says, are we not asking ourselves how we can create more joy, more play, more lightness in our lives when that is the experience of most? He is saying, do you not take medicine when you do not feel well? In this case, this is an energetic form of medicine, of creating light, creating joy, creating play in your life, is the energetic medicine that we as a collective and we as individuals need. And he is wanting me to highlight that what is beautiful about our species is that we affect each other so much without saying anything. Our energy fields are felt by all those around us, including the plants and the animals. They are felt by all those around us. And so when we create love, joy, a lightness, more play in our own energy field, we carry that with us, and we actually do act as a lifting for others. We are able to bring people into our fields without even trying and show them energetically what it is to live with a lighter heart. And that is not to say, he is saying, to push anything on anyone else. And let's see, he is saying if we notice that our energy is coming off as maybe too strong, we have lots of choices as to how we go about to balance that energy around other people. And he says, never hold back the joy and the authenticity that comes from your heart, because that really is a gift for all. Which is why he says that the ones who work with children are so lucky, because they do not hold anything back. They give it all very freely, he says. Thank you for that. Is there more that you want to add? Okay. Okay. I am being told that this is enough for now. There's plenty more on this topic, but we will leave it here. Thank you, angels and guides. Thank you for coming through. My energy stays with me. Your energy stays with you. Thank you so much for tuning in. There's a lot to think about with that message for me in my own life as well. I hope to see you here back next week. We will see what else we are meant to learn about. May you remember your magic today.